The Nigerian Labour Congress has said the commencement of negotiations of the new national minimum wage in 2024 would be based on the prevailing cost of living in the country. Joe Ajero, NLC president, said this at the ongoing 19th edition of the NLC 2023 Hamilton School, organized by the Congress on Tuesday in Abuja. The Hamilton School is part of the NLC National Schools, where it trains and empowers members of its affiliated unions through skill development. Ajero, represented by Benjamin Anthony, Vice President of the NLC, said it was necessary for government at all levels to recognize that life and living conditions are exceedingly difficult. He said that the ultimate goal is to establish a living wage that covers the cost of living. Now, to discuss this, we are joined by Ireoluwa Oguntuase, a labor law expert. Thank you so much for your time, Ireoluwa.
Yes, sorry, I don't know whether you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Thank you for having me.
All right, great. Great. Now, let's, of course, start the conversation with this. The Nigerian Labour Congress has said that the commencement of negotiations of the new national minimum wage in 2024 would be based on the prevailing cost of living in the country. What are your thoughts on this particular assertion?
Well, I think it's a good one, because if we look at the cost of living now, there is no gainsaying the fact, we cannot rule out the fact that the cost of living is extremely high. And we cannot also rule out the fact that the salaries that workers are collecting, the wages that workers are collecting, cannot by extension or consequently meet up with the increase in the cost of living. Now, for us to actually talk about the cost of living, I think we need to extract the provisions of the Minimum Wage Act. That is the National Minimum Wage of 2019. Now, by virtue of Section 16 of the National Minimum Wage Act of 2019, we need to understand that it repealed the 2004 minimum wage, and pursuant to Section 3 of the National Minimum Wage Act, is set at least 30,000 as the minimum wage. But if we juxtapose this minimum wage with the increase in the cost of living, of course, we realize that it stands so low, compared to the expenditure of the citizens. So is it proper or appropriate for the Nigerian Labour Congress to come out and say that the national minimum wage must be made to stand at par with the expenses, with the increase in the cost of living? I think it is proper, because if we look at this, we all understand that by the definition of wages in Section 1 of the Labour Act, it is remunerations or earning. So if we term it as remunerations or earnings, then we need to understand if that earnings is not appropriate for what people are taking on, then people cannot save, then people cannot even feed well, then people cannot have a good health. And this is really going to impact. This is really going to impact on the citizens, and of course the government as well, because without a good citizen, I don't think we can have a good government, because good government is a mirror of what they do.
I mean, I was just about to cut in to ask that since the last industrial action by the body was called off, not much has been had on the conditions given, to the government by the labor union. Do you see the body declaring another, strike action soon?
Well, it would be extremely foolhardy for the Nigerian Labour Congress to declare another strike because of this. Because if we look at this, it is not only government workers, that are affected by the minimum wage. We also have employees in the organized labor sector affected by the minimum wage. In fact, Section 5 of the National Minimum Wage Act, that's 2019, stipulate that in the event they want to increase the minimum wage, there should be a tripartite committee. And the tripartite committee must comprise of government representative on one hand, organized labor congress on the other hand, and also representative of the private sector. So if they declare strike, they should also consider that there are employees in the organized labor sector, and they should consider their employers in the organized labor sector rather. So if peradventure the government is saying they are willing to pay, what of the employers in the organized labor sector. So I think they just need to follow strictly the provisions of the Minimum Wage Act that says that before there can be a modification of the minimum wage, there should be a meeting. And we should also consider the fact that minimum wage is a matter in the exclusive list, but
Okay.
unfortunately, it also affects the state government. So if basically it affects the state government, then there should be a meeting, between the state government, the federal government, and the private sector,
All right.
employers in the private sector,
All right,
for us to be able to have.
All right, Ireoluwa, before I let you go, just a quick one. Besides palliatives, what other steps should be taken, by the government to ease the difficulties presently being experienced by Nigerians?
Well, even if we talk about palliatives, are the palliatives even making the desired effect? No. I think in addition to the palliatives, the government should also be sincere to themselves, because what the citizens are saying is causing a distrust, between the citizens and the government, or between the representatives of the citizens and the government. Most importantly is trust. The citizens need to be assured that the government is sincere to their plight. The citizens need to be assured that the government is willing to assuage their feeling with respect to the increase in the expenses that they are suffering. I think if they can do that, it's going to go a long way. And when I say sincerity, I mean that the government should not, on one hand, be coming out to say that they cannot meet this demand, while on the other hand, the citizens are saying, humongous and exorbitant spending. This, to a very great extent, will not place trust, or will not allow the citizens to have trust that the government is actually sincere in doing something. So I think if the government is sincere, and we are saying it as a citizen, I think it's going to go a long way, to assuage our feelings that the government is really interested in the plight of the citizens, not the palliatives, because the palliatives has failed, and the government have also made the palliatives fail. The people at the ends of government representing the interest of the citizens as allegedly cornered the palliatives.
All right,
Only a
Ireoluwa.
fraction of been able to get hold of it. So I think sincerity is the most an important issue here.
All right, Ireoluwa, thank you so much for your time. Ireoluwa Oguntuase, a labor law expert, of course, from Nigeria. Thank you once again for your time.
You're welcome. You're welcome.